So when I was in 6th grade, my younger brother was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. He'd been having pretty much his whole life had medical problems, but when he was 9 years old, he started having a lot of problems, and so later that year I had started having some ankle pain, and I had sprained my ankle and the pain wasn't going away, and slowly that pain spread throughout my whole body, and then I was diagnosed with the same condition he was when I was in 7th grade. And then I missed a lot of school from that. I had to stop doing a lot of the things I really liked to do, like I stopped doing musicals. Then in 8th grade I started getting even more sick, and I missed 50% of the school year because of a different condition I have called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which causes high heart rate and low blood pressure. Along with the pain that I was having, I was missing so much school that I got really behind in school, which made it really hard to want to go to school, and I kept missing more school. And then my freshman year, I started going a little bit more, but I was still really sick, so I started doing school every other day and doing online classes, which helped a lot, and I made it to more school. And then this past year I was hospitalized for 3 weeks in an inpatient program for rehabilitation and physical therapy and things like that, and I ended up getting a lot better and made it to a lot more school since then. I think that one thing that would have been helpful for being able to go back to school was if I had had assignments online. Having to have paper copies of everything made it so I got so far behind that I couldn't catch up a lot of the time, and I ended up not doing well in some classes and had to drop them. I mean, we have the tools we need to be able to do things online, but a lot of the teachers don't put things online because it's just they're used to doing it, things on paper and doing hard copy assignments, but it would have been really helpful if I had been able to do things from home. While I was struggling a lot, I found a group called EDS Wisconsin, which I started volunteering with, and that's been really helpful to be able to be around other people that have EDS and also be able to educate people on EDS. I was able to go speak to a lot of doctors last month, which was an amazing opportunity, and they all got to learn something about the condition I have and how to help other people like me with EDS.
I'm Isaac. I am a sophomore in high school, and one of the things looking back on my middle school and elementary school experience was that I didn't see many people of color, and I used to go to a school that had many people of color, so it was a big change that affected me. I definitely felt alone because of the things that I was seeing in terms of, like, I didn't see many people of color, and so I didn't feel like I could talk to people, and teachers tried to make friends for me and push people to talk to me, but it just didn't really work out as well as I'd thought it would, or as well as that teacher or teachers thought it would. So it was kind of just them trying to talk to me, and then nothing really happened after that. And so it kind of just made me feel worse that the teachers had to find someone for me, for sure. And so I kind of just felt alone. I found friends by being with by just like being forced to talk to people for like groups or something in classes, and then we eventually just kept on talking in those same groups over time, and we just became friends through that. So that was definitely something that helped me. The activities that I did helped in some ways, but they didn't create any friendships because I just had like one connection with those people, and then once that season was done, they kind of just went back to their other friends or they already had friends because the sports that I did, friends kind of just, they did it their whole lives. Like, it wasn't just something that you could join and then you were good at and you found friends like from one season. It was more of like you start young and you end when you're older. So it was definitely harder to make friends through sports because I couldn't connect with the people that have been friends for so long. So people don't really understand that I don't know everything about African Americans and that I don't know stuff in general, and so they just kind of assumed that I did and then would ask me questions that I didn't know how to answer, and so I couldn't give the knowledge, and so I felt like, and nobody really understood that I was different, I guess. They just kind of assumed that I knew that I was different, and they assumed just random stuff about me that just wasn't true, that like I had a hard life growing up and my family was poor, which wasn't true, and they kind of just didn't understand me as a person. Well, we go to the same school. I get okay grades. I'm not depressed. I'm not poor. Yes, I'm a different skin color, but that's about the only difference. I don't really know how else to explain that we are the same. We're both people.
Every day I've had to search the mirror for who I am. I never know what to write for my name or where to go to the bathroom. I say I know who I am, but even I am a stranger to myself. Nicknames and comments cut deep, and I'm told to take it with a pinch of salt, but how much salt can I handle before I transform into the Dead Sea? Introducing myself is fueled with anxiety, not because they're a stranger, but because I'll have to share my entire life story for them to truly know me for me. I'm the gray in the black and white world. She and my dead name are emblazoned across my chest like a tattoo gone wrong. No matter how much I transition, the past still stings. I'm the unknown because history has been erased, lives have been trampled. For people like me to be considered new to society, we're nothing new. We date prehistoric history because we've always existed. The erasure is no more. Not only teach our history, but cherish it. I've lived 1,000 lives just to say that our world revolves on consistent ignorance. I'm wrong for both faking myself and being my true self. I'm silent whenever a conversation about a non-binary world comes up. I've fought, I've tried, I've stayed silent. I've done everything the textbook says and nothing works. The solutions aren't clear, the answers aren't right. Nothing works unless somebody who isn't like us stands up. The world doesn't change because of listening to the outside voice. It changes by a collection of voices standing up for the right thing. There's a root cause at school where you can get away if your comment is transphobic by saying you identify as an inanimate object is funny, because how can the teachers know? Transgender is beautiful, queer is wonderful. The LGBTQ+ community needs to be listened to instead of laughed at. Are you going to stand up and make that change?
When I was 8 in elementary school, I got to such a low point without anybody noticing that was when I first really considered killing myself. And I wrote about it, and I wrote very disturbing texts about it, and told people, and nobody did anything about it. Teachers knew, but no one did anything. They just brushed it off, and they were like, "Oh, you shouldn't write about that." But that's what I felt inside, so I did anyways. I started making closer friends in middle school, which was really nice because I was always a weird kid, and I made a really, really close friend in middle school, and we got into high school and it was great, and then she killed herself, and no one knew what to do for me after she did, and I came back to school and I didn't have any friends, and she was just gone. There was an empty seat. It was a very uncomfortable moment, and it still is, trying to talk about it. I'll make, not jokes, but I'll make references to her, and people will tell me that it's inappropriate and that I shouldn't talk about it, or I shouldn't talk about her. But talking about her makes me feel better. I knew her the best. I don't know how else to cope, because no one taught me how to cope with loss. No one taught me how to cope with loss. They just told me how to prevent it. And speaking of loss, I also lost my old life. I've been recently diagnosed with so many things that like make me disabled, and I can't do this and that, and you're never taught how to live with loss or grieve loss of not only another person or a pet, but of old parts of yourself. Every day I come to school and I'm told that you're preparing me for real life, but this is my real life. I'm disabled. I'm a woman. My best friend is dead. This is my real life. And no one prepared me for it.
I think for me, my kind of high school experience was very much, it was awesome because I did get to do a whole bunch of different things and learn more about myself, and overall the school experience was kind of about learning about yourself and what you liked and what you wanted to do. But I think also what came with that was a lot of stress. So I think like my high school experience was a lot of mix of stress and fun, which I think is a good thing. A lot of times in my high school experience, I did get to try new things, which I thought was absolutely awesome. I thought it was very encouraged to do all these different things. You know, I'm someone that's in a ton of clubs, a ton of different sports and activities, that sort of thing. So I like seeing as a whole what the school has to offer, and I think that's really awesome. If I had to gripe about one thing, I think it would probably be the lack of put yourself first sort of thing. So a lot of times it is nice. We have some mental health things at the high school, which I think is super nice. I think we could work on that a little bit, but absolutely everything with time. But even at like the middle school and the primary levels, there was not enough support, I felt like, with mental health. I dealt with a lot of depression in my middle school career, and for me, I felt very alone in that. For me, I saw mental health as something that I shouldn't have and something that's not normal, and so that caused me a lot of stress and anxiety on top of the depression.
I was always taught the 5 stages of grief and that people go through them, but never really taught or shown how people actually go through them. It makes me feel very sad for all of the middle schoolers, elementary schoolers that might end up in my position that aren't currently being taught how to actually deal with it if it happens in real life, because this is my real life.
Depression, and I feel like one thing that the school overall as a district could do better is starting to cultivate that sense of personal happiness and personal enjoyment even at the earlier ages. So I think even just little bits and pieces of, hey, put yourself first, or if you're feeling sad, you know, go and talk to someone, or go and do something that makes you happy, and just kind of focusing on our emotional and mental wellness just as much as our physical wellness in schools, I feel like is super critical, and I feel like is something I'd love to see more, even at the more primary and middle school levels. So yeah.
Just having teachers say it's okay to be different and to not single me out as being different and just including everyone, I guess, not just trying to make my life better, but making other people's lives better for them, because I'm sure it was hard for other people to see me and then think, why are they here and stuff. So, and just kind of give people knowledge about why I'm different, I guess, if that makes sense.
So I had a teacher tell me that I should take their class when I was better, but the condition I have is a lifelong thing, and I'm not going to get better. I have to do the same things as all the other kids. I still have to get all my credits. I still have to graduate. I can't not take certain classes.
Dear teachers, when I was asked about what I want to see changed at McFarland, my first thought was, how do I choose? I thought a lot about what I want to see changed. After thinking about all the possibilities, I realized that I don't want anything. I demand the silence end here. Many students and my peers get away with ignorant comments and actions. Doing nothing makes you just like them. The comments want a reaction, so give them an explosion. So what? They'll be petty and annoying about it. You have power, use it. I might be the quiet kid in your class because of who's in it and what's been said in your classroom. I know the names and faces of those who cause pain like the back of my hand. You become another name and face I memorize when you do nothing. It's easy to teach kids to stand up for themselves, but easy to ignore if you're not involved. Do you not get involved because you don't know what to say? Is it hard to address the situation? Is that your favorite student? That is no excuse. Take a risk, take a guess. I'd rather you do something than nothing because it means you care. That is 1,000 times better than letting countless of your students get hurt. Listen to every voice in your classroom, even if they're not speaking. Know that every single comment and action gone untouched is talked about and spread across the school. We live in a small town where diversity is smothered. Love all your students, not just the norm. Make McFarland a place where people are excited to come to. Every day I'm thankful for the teachers who have helped and stood up for me. You've made an incredible difference on my life, and I wouldn't be where I am today without you. Make the future of McFarland thank every teacher who is standing up. Sincerely, the quiet kid in your class.